Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Jack Lifton. Jack, how are you?
I'm fine, Tracy. How are you?
You wrote and sent me yesterday, I think it was 3,574 words, and just for our audience out there, I do try and get all of our writers, our editors, to send me 650 words.
Yes.
But this was a pretty compelling commentary about the increasing hostilities, or basically China and Japan taking their latest disputes into the US courtrooms over the debate of patents. Okay. Just explain to our audience what motivated you to write this piece.
I had the opportunity to meet the people from the Chinese Rare Earth Permanent Magnet Alliance in Chicago recently. And this included representatives of 7 fairly good-sized magnet makers and their lawyers. It was quite entertaining. These lawyers are Americans of Chinese origin, who are representing this group. And I said to them, if you're going to try and sell rare earth permanent magnets in North America, how can you do this as a group? Are you going to go into an end customer and say, well, any one of us could provide you something, you pick. I don't want to use the analogy on family interview, but it's not like you're picking, one flower from many. So they said, no. The purpose of our group is to block and overturn the Japanese patents that are preventing all Chinese magnet manufacturers from entering the high volume business in North America. And I said, so the purpose of your group is marketing. They said, yes, it's marketing and trade. And once we have achieved our goal, we'll open independent offices, and we hope to open actual manufacturing sites outside of China in North America. Now, this has been going on for some time, several years, and it's not talked about in the stock promotion press. But I will tell you something, that this is very serious, and the Japanese are very worried, because the Chinese so far are doing quite well in the courts. So some of these patents have already been overturned. Some, Hitachi, the main patent holder, has backed off on and said, we don't want to litigate, go ahead and manufacture. But the big battle is going to be in the next year or so, because the Chinese companies really want to crack the American market. And the point of all of this conversation is this: if the Chinese companies come into this market, then it's really an impediment to the future development of our domestic rare earth permanent magnet industry, because they have access to raw materials and they are already low-cost producers. So I'm saying that time is really running on us, and the Chinese do not consider North America a competitor in rare earth permanent magnet manufacturing. They'd be silly to do so. They consider Japan to be the impediment to their conquest of the rare earth permanent magnet world. And the battle has begun while we're watching football and cartoons and having a wonderful time. The Chinese and Japanese are battling for this market. We still have a chance to grab some of it, or at least to grab our own. But time is a wasting here, and people are talking about the wrong thing.
I think your points are very excellent, and there were quite a few points in there. But specifically, a couple of years ago, I had been asked to see if I could acquire a permanent magnet manufacturer in the United States for a Chinese institutional fund.
Yes.
And, I explained that when I found a company that I thought was ideally suited, I said, look, this company is a patriotic company, without naming names here, and there's no way that they would be interested in you buying them or owning a piece of them. And I think we want to go back to the issue of sustainability, which I think is a prominent issue that needs to be discussed more clearly. And I think that there's a lot of propaganda in the media by some of the companies that are really want to reassure Americans, Canadians, that we have sustainability when really what they have is a desire just to control the market for their company. So I appreciate what you're trying to do, Jack, in alerting our audience to who really is producing and who isn't. So I want to just jump to with regards to our Aussie friends. In your commentary, you were talking about existing producers Molycorp and Linus. And you had a question mark after Linus. Was that a typo you need me to delete, or were you making a question mark on whether or not Linus is actually producing at this time?
No, actually, what I think, if I recall, what I was trying to say is do the Chinese does the Chinese magnet consider Linus a friend or an enemy? What I mean by this is that the scuttlebutt in the industry is that Linus is supplying didymium to Japanese magnet manufacturers. Of course, they're probably sending it to China. Who knows? But the thing is, they are not, as far as I know, selling anything directly into China. Whereas Molycorp may not be selling things into China because it's difficult to sell ice cubes in Alaska, but they do have considerable business interests at Magnequench and Neo in China. So I don't think the Chinese think of Molycorp as a competitor as much as a question mark. They don't know if they're going to be one of the boys or if they are going to be a competitor. With Linus, I think they are fighting Linus. That's what I'm saying.
In your commentary, you talked about the development of other heavy rare earth properties such as Ucore, Rare Element Resources, and Texas Rare Earths. Can you talk to us a little bit about the updates? I think what you were alluding to is that there is some tension building behind the scenes in the rare earth market right now as these projects go forward. Is there anything that you can comment on? Because I do appreciate that you are a consultant for several of these companies.
Well, I'm a consultant for all three, and I'm really constrained by NDAs, but let's say that I'm extremely optimistic about all three going forward. And notwithstanding reading the arcana of institutional investment advice on don't do this or do this, quite frankly, those three companies are moving along quite nicely. And they remember this. If all three of them entered production tomorrow and reached target production, there wouldn't be enough heavy rare earth produced just for the American market. So they need to be in production, because I wanted to make a point about our previous conversation. The Chinese magnet makers are not going to build plants outside of China until they can source the critical magnet materials outside of China. And so what they are looking for is something to happen. And what I think they're doing is, quite frankly, I believe they are not. I know they're investing already in the rare earth space, mining, junior mining, and they're looking forward to these things happening because they want supplies for their outside of China manufacturing plants.
Okay, and that's a very good point. And just jumping back to Japan here, you know, everyone's talking about Tesla, and I'd like to reinforce to our audience that I do speak to Jack often about expanding his critical material coverage to graphite, vanadium, niobium, etc. Yeah, lithium. Anything having to do with critical materials. In fact, I'm going to get you on uranium yet, Jack.
Okay.
But in the Japanese, for instance, are leaders, for instance, in the manufacturing and the technology and patents for batteries.
Yes, correct. Especially the nickel metal hydride and lithium ion batteries.
And everybody's racing around. I'm talking to Tesla. I'm speaking to Tesla. I got an email from Tesla. Okay. They follow me on Twitter, by the way. But the bottom line is Tesla and any of these electric hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles, are actually going to have to source their batteries. We're going to need more battery manufacturers in North America.
Right.
So the companies that these lithium, graphite, vanadium companies should be speaking to actually are the battery manufacturers, not the Tesla.
But the thing is, keep in mind that Tesla has stated they will be manufacturing batteries in their gigafactory. They will not outsource that, although their partner is Panasonic. which, quite frankly, as I recall, invented the lithium-ion battery. I may be wrong. Don't write me. Don't anybody tell me. But I recall that and I certainly remember when they got into the nickel metal hydride, i.e., rare earth battery. So that let's say that this gigafactory in the Nevada desert is going to be not only Tesla, but a Panasonic factory. Here's the real problem. In North America, domestically, we do not, repeat, not produce enough lithium to meet the projected demand of Panasonic-Tesla. So there is definitely room for expansion in the supply market lithium space.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us an update and some feedback on what inspired you to write this excellent commentary on the patent war that's happening in the US courts right now between Japan and China.
Thank you, Tracy.